Hey, all my Leo friends, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and I'm here today with your June 2024 monthly horoscope. These horoscopes are based on whole sign Western astrology. So when I'm talking about Leo, I'm referring to Leo rising as dictating the chart. This is also applicable to Leo sun as well as Leo moons. And if you have 3 or more personal planets in the sign of Leo, this video is applicable to you as well. When I refer to a day and time, it's based on the Pacific time zone. So if you're somewhere else in the world, please adjust for your location. All right, so let's just jump in here because the month starts off with some really lovely aspects. We see all the planets are either in trine or in a sextile, so this is a very easy, more harmonious energy. The nodes are always going to be in an opposition, so that's pretty much par for the course. Probably the only real challenging dynamic as we start June is Mars in its rulership is continuing a rather tense conversation with Chiron. Chiron represents the wound that the soul carries into the physical experience. And here there's the potential of Leo really kind of rethinking and focusing in on the self and the wound of the self not being seen or being acknowledged in some way. But at the same time, this is also an opportunity to transform that wound into the gift that it also represents. And that will require bravery, and more likely than anything would be potentially recognizing where there's old resentments and angers that aren't serving you anymore. If there are situations that literally you can do nothing about, this is an opportunity to go in a new direction and to give yourself a rest, I guess, from any hurts or disappointments that you've experienced. This Aries energy is in your 9th house. This is also a natural trine to your Leo energy. So this is an opportunity for you to really transform a potentially unpleasant dynamic within your current life experience and extract the wisdom from it. We see that in your 11th house of friendships, of hopes and dreams, the 11th house is a upachaya house that matures over time. We see that Jupiter has moved into that 11th house, offering you an expansion of the social groups that you interact with, the networks that you interact with, even potentially propelling you into study or into exploration of mental pursuits is the way I want to put it. Learning new things. Gemini by nature is a very curious sign. It enjoys discovering things, and yet at the same time, it doesn't want to necessarily dig deep into the information. But having Jupiter moving into this sign, we're seeing an opportunity to balance. Jupiter's in detriment technically in Gemini, meaning that it's in the furthest house away from its home of Sagittarius. But Jupiter's a natural explorer. And so while Jupiter may not feel it's most comfortable in the little details of everyday life, here there's an opportunity for balance. We also see that Venus and the Sun are making a lovely aspect right now over to the North Node and the Moon. So this might offset any of this prickly energy that's going on with Mars and Chiron. All right, so let's jump. Oh, one other thing I wanted to mention is that Pluto retrograde here in the sign of Aquarius, which is your 7th house of partnerships, is making a beautiful trine to Jupiter. And this trine is really about Jupiter rules our religious beliefs. It rules philosophies and ideologies. And here there's an opportunity as Pluto retrogrades in your 7th house to revisit some of the philosophies that you have, some of the ideologies you have, and really decide if they're still working for you, if they're still applicable in this chapter of your life. And if for some reason they're not, then I believe that Jupiter offers benefit as you transform those ideologies or you implement new structures within your life. We see Mercury on the 3rd is going to move into its rulership here in Gemini, joining Jupiter and Venus and the Sun. This is a strong position for Mercury. Here, this feels like there's a lot of social activity coming up in the month of June for you, a lot of potentially social activity around your own home, your neighborhood, or things to do with your children if you have children. We also see that we're beginning a square between Venus and the Sun and Saturn. Saturn is going to start to slow down. It's going to go retrograde at the end of the month at 19 degrees of Pisces. So it's only going to move 1 degree, maybe even half a degree if we include the minutes, because when it moves retrograde, it's going to be, well, in any case, it's just slowing its roll down. So it's a revisit of old things, old potential fears that you have. The 8th house of Pisces for you is going to offer you a glimpse into other people's influence over you, how you feel obligated in some ways to facilitating or potentially making choices based on other people's opinions of what your choices are. And I think that this could create a little bit of tension. Venus is going to continue to move forward. That square is going to get tighter. Venus rules our money, but she also rules our self-worth. And here, this is going to be sort of a revisiting of old structures, old thoughts, old potentially fears that have held you back from really moving your story forward. And as we experience, Mercury's going to speed up and catch up with Venus pretty soon. So this too makes me feel like there's the potential for a lot of, again, social activity, interaction with friends in the neighborhood. And you could see yourself with more feminine friendships or feminine dynamic within the friendships. I don't know exactly. You may not have a lot of female friends, but there could be like a receptive energy. I'm trying to take the gender out of Venus right now and just look at the idea of enjoying things and doing things that are pleasurable, fun, good food, good wine, good friends. That's Venus. And here in the sign of Gemini. All right, so we're going to see a new moon on the 6th in the sign of Gemini. That's going to take place at 5:37 a.m. And I think this is a really powerful new moon because we see Venus in an exact conjunction with the new moon here. So when we have a new moon, we have the sun and the moon coming together in the dark of night to plant the seeds for a new experience. And this experience very much feels Venusian, using your skills, your talents, planting the seeds for your transformation from any doubt or trepidation that you can't move your story forward. Again, this is in the 11th house for you. That 11th house rules your hopes, your dreams, and it's a very social house based on your it's the internet platforms. But then when we see the Gemini energy overlapping that, we're seeing a commingling of that which is physically close to you and those that can be physically far away from you. So I know that sounds kind of contrary, but you could find yourself with more Zoom meetings or more Skype interactions or finding people sliding into your DM. Now we see that the square that we were experiencing between Venus and the Sun, the moon has now joined this square and the square to Saturn. So this could be planting the seeds for the rewrite of an old story. Pisces is a very creative sign. Venus is exalted in Pisces. So here, the square would be, to me, addressing my fears, potentially my depressions, potentially obligations or places I don't feel seen or celebrated by other people. And now this is an opportunity to start a new experience for yourself. The 16th degree is the Cancerian degree of healing, of nurturing, of the mother, of the receptive energy that the female represents. So I think it's very powerful as you're setting your intentions for the new moon to align with the universe and remember that the universe is working in your favor and your focused thoughts tell the universe what it is you want to experience. So as you're aware of this, you can shift your focused thoughts from fear and trepidation to exhilaration and excitement. That's the way I want to put it. Having Jupiter traveling through your 11th house for the next year is really an opportunity to expand and to broaden your reach out into the world, as well as your potential financial flow. When Jupiter, after a year, will move into your 12th house of Cancer, where it's exalted. And there, I think that there's a potential that when Jupiter moves into Cancer, while it is the 12th house of the unseen, here it feels as if there's the potential of your philosophies, how you think about the potentials in your life opening up due to spending time connecting with your divine source, whether you want to call it God, you want to call it, the universe, you want to call it source energy, the connection to that and the awareness of that, and using your intellect and your thoughts to align to what it is you want to experience, where your hopes and dreams feel like fantasy on some level. This ability to connect with that feeling, that feeling of achievement and of success, whether it has actually grounded into your personal experience, is not really relevant right now. It feels more like it's that alignment is where the power lies. So when you're aware that your thoughts are things, and as you plant the seeds that for that awareness, and the awareness is, I know I'm living in a human body, and I know that Saturn will bring up things that make me feel uncomfortable sometimes. I'm willing to endure that challenge in order to receive the benefit that this new moon has to offer. All right, let's go on to the 9th, where we're going to see Mars move into Taurus. Now, this energy with Mars moving into Taurus, you can see right now on the day that we start on the 9th, we see Mars as the focal point for a tense situation or a tense feeling or a tense environment. We see the moon will move very quickly, but at this time, the moon is participating in this T-square. So the focal point being Mars with Pluto here, and Pluto and the moon making an opposition. This feels very much as if it could be an emotional day where things come up that have a certain history to them. They have a certain feeling of repetitiveness, and there could be a sense of wanting to literally like stomp your feet on the ground saying, I don't want to do this anymore. The 10th house for you, I'm sorry, Taurus is your 10th house of public image, of work, of career, ambition, how people see you in the world. And with Mars here, there's just a little bit, this could just feel a little frustrating, a little bit of potential. Honestly, it feels like there's something repetitive going on in your experience, and that coming up frustrates you and re-engages some sort of annoyance. We also see that the sun is making a square exact to Saturn, and that to me is where the history is coming up. We were talking about Pisces is your 8th house, so this has to do with other people. There could be the potential that other people aren't seeing you in a clear light, or you feel they're not seeing you in a clear light. And that's affecting your self-confidence, as we see Venus is still in this square with Saturn. So we've had this for a few days now. And that's why I think Mars's entry into Taurus could potentially create a little bit of upset. Not everybody handles upset the same way. This may be a silent sort of brooding. Taurus is known as the silent one. So just be mindful that this is a temporary moment. So that you don't find yourself focusing too much on it. That's what I want to say. If there's a disruption of some kind, the focus of it is not going to help change the story just yet. So it'd be best on some level to allow yourself to distract yourself in some way. That's the way I want to put it. We are going to see As we move a few days to the 12th, the period between the 12th and the 16th, the Mercury, the Sun, and Venus will all be traveling together. And this is, my childhood thoughts, how I think, my interactions with my siblings, my workmates, my teammates. The Sun is my ambition, my drive, and Venus is my self-worth, my skills, and my money. So all of these things are going to be in your forefront of your mind. And what I think is, even though there's the square to Saturn, that square saying, I'm going to have to endure feeling uncomfortable on some level. And yet at the same time, Saturn is offering rewards as you take your creativity and you start to implement it into some sort of everyday practice, whether it be, sitting for a few minutes in meditation, contemplating your hopes and your dreams, or whether you're actually doing some physical activity to move that story forward. I think this is a really powerful time. And at the same time, it's a tense time because it's stretching you outside of your box in some way. It's rubbing up against you to say, Leo, how much do you want this? How much do you believe that you can achieve this? How much are you willing to endure in order to make your dreams come true? We see that Mars is now at 2 degrees of Taurus, making a square to Pluto. Pluto and Mars both rule Scorpio. Scorpio naturally rules the 8th house, which is where your Pisces energy is. And that is creating this awareness that there's something sitting underneath your psychological imprint that it's nagging at you to be braver. It's asking you to put the frustration aside and step into action, but in a positive way, in a way that makes you feel excited about what you're doing, or what you're endeavoring. And it doesn't feel easy because of this square to Pluto. Pluto rules the deepest psychology with which we make our decisions on. It also rules the power and control others have over us. So as we see this in your 7th house, you could very well be considering the partnerships that you have and how they will react to your endeavors. But at the same time, there's the potential for great growth due to Jupiter's entry into Gemini and starting implementing your ideas into your everyday focus. I'm not even looking at Leo and saying, oh, you need to go out and pound the pavement and post content every day. It's more about digging down into your thought process. With Mercury and Jupiter both in the beginning of the month in the sign of Gemini, there's a lot of air going on. There's a lot of thoughts. There's a lot of focus on the mental processes, on the inspirations, the information, and the things that you process through what you hear on the media. So this is a very powerful time. And as I said, this is going to last for about 4 days. So let's go to the 17th, where we will see both Mercury and Venus move into your 12th house of Cancer. Venus likes being here. It's a warm, fuzzy place for her. We see that at the beginning of the month, there's a bit of a challenging dynamic with this quincunx to Pluto. To me, this is sort of a blind spot where I don't really see something. There's something that is not in my conscious awareness. So here, this could represent a psychological dynamic where you don't feel valued, or you don't feel good enough, or you don't feel things are moving fast enough. There's that potential. We see here the moon again. This is another potentially emotional day as the moon is making an opposition to Mars at this time. And then the two of them are also the focal point here. It's a loose T-square, but it's a T-square nonetheless. And it's with two planets that, kick up the dust of what sits underneath that's pissing me off. And here's this emotional moon in the sign of Scorpio moving. So there's a brooding energy during this particular time for me personally. Now, at the same time, as Venus and and Mercury moved through Cancer, there could be a lot of activity around the home dynamic. There could be interactions with family and siblings. The summertime is a big time for families to get together and go on vacation and enjoy each other's company. So that could be going on. The 12th house also rules hotels and rules spas and ashrams and retreats. So you could find yourself going on a summer holiday or planning a summer holiday somewhere by the ocean, Cancer. Now we do see a square between Venus and Mercury to Neptune. Now, this is kind of an interesting thing because Neptune, while it rules a lot of wonderful, compassionate, empathetic, creative dynamics, it also rules the fog, the things that we can't see, the illusions or the fantasies. So this square between Neptune and Venus and Mercury could create a little bit of what I think is happening is the awareness that's sitting underneath as represented by the dynamic between Mars and Pluto. What's been going on for the last few days between, say, the 12th and now could potentially could reveal itself. And this square is feeling almost like your soul is not wanting to repeat a situation, but rather heal from it. And sometimes those situations that we want to heal from, there's no real conclusion. It's more of a surrender and an integration of an experience that extracts the wisdom from it. Again, we see the idea that Mercury and Venus represent my thoughts and my self-worth as it reflects in my home. The Cancer energy is about healing. It's about self-care. It's about nurturing. It's the mother energy. So here, this would be about how you're nurturing yourself. And if for some reason you're defaulting and you're taking care of others more than you're taking care of you, this could very much be a tense moment. Where you're feeling unseen and you're feeling a sense of erosion. And that sense of erosion is actually calling forth this bravery. This is now Mars in Taurus. Now, Mars in Taurus is in detriment as well, because it naturally rules Venus is a natural ruler here, and it's in opposition to its 8th house. Okay, it's in its furthest energy away from its home, but at the same time, Mars is another explorer, another adventurer, another pioneer. So here, Mars is pioneering through Taurus in your 10th house of career, asking yourself repeatedly if you're doing and making your money through something that brings an authenticity through who you really are. And if you're not, this tense square between Pluto and Mars, I know it's loose now, but they're powerful planets. So in the power of their annoyance or their frustration, that could bubble up. And that's further evidenced by the quincunx here from Venus and Mercury to Pluto. So this middle of the month could be bringing up things that are calling forth a bigger picture for you, something more authentic to your truth, to your heart, to what you want to experience long term for your satisfaction. On the 20th, the sun will join Venus and Mercury in the sign of Cancer. Let's get a little, I'll go to the 21st. And this is all in your 12th house of the house that is an ancestral house, a house where the soul has experienced things repeatedly. And this is an opportunity to find the divinity within that repetition, to have an awareness rather than a judgment of what has happened before. And it could have something to do with how you were raised as a child, the permissions that you were given to pursue your dreams, to feel a sense of pride about who and what you are and what you're producing out into the world. We will see a full moon in just a couple of hours. So let me go to 6:07 p.m. Pacific time. And this, oops, I did AM, pardon me. fix that. Oops. 6:07 p.m. And we see that this, here we have the sun and the moon in an opposition. This is going to be the first of 2 full moons in in Capricorn this month. And it's going to put the moon cycles back on track where we have a new moon and then a full moon each month. We see that this full moon is making a T-square to Neptune. So the energies that you were feeling earlier, the month, that period between the 12th and the 16th or 17th is a focal point. Something has come into the light of your awareness. Something is lit up that has made you realize, wow, I could potentially have been thinking one thing and holding myself back from something, and it's no longer necessary. So this feels like a piece of information that makes me want to, for my Leos specifically, birth a bigger sense of my creativity, a bigger sense of my self-expression into the world. The energy of Pisces rules music, it rules lyrics, it rules poetry, it rules dance, it rules film, filmography, photography. There's so much beauty within that 12th house. And at the same time, when the 12th house of Pisces is out of balance, it can feel very erosive. Like I can't express myself. I'm not seen when I express myself. Now we overlay that this is your 8th house of transformation. So this could be an illumination where you see how your fears of other people's opinions have held you back from what is most important to your heart. That's how this reads to me. Okay, now I think I'm going to go just a little later in the month. I'm going to go about to the 25th, put this back to 12 p.m. And here the planets are starting to disperse a bit. We still see this concentration of energy here in your 12th house with Mercury and Venus, but they're separating a little bit. So the energies are not feeling so clustered and so crowded is the way I kind of want to put it. We still see that there's squares going on, but they're loosening up. Saturn is about to retrograde in your 8th house. So there's going to be a revisit of where you have felt a sense of authority over you that doesn't feel comfortable. I'm going to put it that way. Let's go to the 29th. Now, Saturn's retrograde will take place until November 15th, 2024, and then it will move forward again. I find it interesting, while we didn't quite get to the retrograde, let me move to 5 p.m. on that day. So the retrograde starts at 19 degrees. It's actually 26 minutes, but here we see it's 25. The 19 degree is the Libra degree of balance. So for me, I think that this is really, because it's going to go all the way back to 12 degrees of Pisces. That's the Pisces degree. There's something for my Leos about balancing your creativity, your self-expression, the performer within you with your everyday activities. There's something here where when I look at this, this is about pacing yourself. This is about how much do I want it? That's what Saturn's going to ask you. How much will I let other people's power, control, their money, their ideas influence me? Or will I allow myself permission to pursue that which is important to me and let them experience that pursuit rather than trying to get their permission to pursue? We see that Pluto is about to make a strong opposition with Mercury. And while this is not actually going to take place in this month, it'll be the beginning of July. The thoughts are going to start to, you're going to start thinking and reviewing where you've been held back, where potentially you have felt like a sense of obligation and duty to, almost feels like, I don't want to be mean to my Leos, but it almost feels like your sense of obligation and duty to somebody else's idea feels bigger to you than it really is. that maybe even the other party would be like, no, I want you to do you. I want you to feel your sense of self-satisfaction. And so I feel like that tense moment between, what do I think about? What are my everyday obligations? This is Mercury. And then Pluto is that power and control that other people have. So Mercury is going to move, and all these planets are about to move into your first house in July. So as you're aware of the ideas that you have repetitive thoughts that may not actually be applicable right now, they could have a sense of history to them. And this might create a little bit of tension because it will put back into your lap your hopes and your dreams to facilitate the movement of them. You will, I think what the month of June is doing for Leo is moving all the excuses that and all the obligations to the side of the road for now and opening up a space, but at the same time it creates tension for you because the tension is actually sticking your neck out. And that's one of the challenges of Leo, is to trust your heart and to have the courage to move your story forward. The body parts that Leo rules is the heart and the spine. So I think that that's what you're going to be revisiting during this month as a theme. How much do I want it? How much am I willing to pursue it? Am I willing to integrate it in my everyday life? If not with physical activity, with my mental pursuits, giving my thoughts that focus. That's the door. That's the key that you put in the lock that opens the door to your dreams, is to align mentally and then take your action. So this is a pretty powerful month, but then again, this is a very powerful time for humanity. There's a lot of transformative energy going on, and we as a global community are revisiting themes from hundreds of years ago where we were trying to support and implement more balance for the human experience. And we weren't so good at that way back then. And so we're getting an opportunity now to revisit it. And as we revisit it, we're revisiting it starting with the self and taking that self out into our communities to represent experiences for not only ourselves, but for others as well. So it's a really powerful time. And I think that Leos who step into their creativity, step into their leadership, will feel a real strong sense of satisfaction moving forward as we get into 2025 and 2026. All right, everybody, that's it for June for 2024. I will be back with your July horoscopes. Again, my name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer. And if you'd like to book a reading with me, I am available. My information is below in the description. Have a great June, all my Leos. I'll see you soon.